So there was this guy called Henry Hudson. This guy was an English explorer. One day, the Dutch came to Henry and they were like, "Hey, can you find Asia?" And Henry went, "Sure." So the Dutch gave him a ship and set him off. But Henry found what's modern day Manhattan and he was like, "Oh my god," because it was rich in wood, fertile soil, and beavers, which meant fur, which meant rich. So Henry kept record of this discovery. A couple years later, the Dutch would come back to Manhattan and make a fort there called Fort Amsterdam, and in 1626 the town was renamed New Amsterdam. But then the British came in 1664 and invaded the city because that's just what they do best. And so they renamed New Amsterdam New York, and the city began to grow as it was a perfect spot for Europeans who wanted to start new lives. Also, let's not forget the fact that Manhattan was once native territory which was stolen by rich European men, and the natives, named the Lenape, were kicked out of their homeland, but New York continued to grow. By 1790, New York continued to grow to around 43,000 people and became the most populated city in the Americas. New York was also benefiting from their location. New York's location close to Atlantic made its bay an amazing place to trade and made it easy for immigrants to come. In the early 1800s, many politicians who knew about the poor quality of American roads and inland trade were sick of it. They wanted change, so they proposed to the president to build a canal that connected New York to the Great Lakes. This canal was called the Erie Canal and was considered insanity by the president to build such a canal, but the politicians ignored the president and went on to order the construction of the canal, which would be 568 kilometers long and take 8 years to be completed, which made it finished in 1825. Even though New York was the most populated city in the United States, it wasn't the richest. But after the construction of the canal, New York became the richest city in the United States and made trade much cheaper. The canal is still used to this day. New York is a rapidly developing city, but there is a problem. As New York does have other locations to build like the Bronx, Brooklyn, and more, Manhattan is running out of space, so the best decision is to build up. Manhattan is built over schist, which is a very hard rock that makes up the bedrock of Manhattan. Schist is a blessing for a city with no space to build outwards, since it gives them the ability to build upwards. So by the 1900s, Manhattan started to have a skyscraper boom, and they broke their own record of the tallest building in the world 6 times and 7 times in total. New York even has the longest time of sustaining a record with the Empire State Building. All this is possible by the schist that makes up the bedrock, which keeps the skyscrapers stable. If the schist wouldn't be there, then the skyscrapers will be like the Leaning Tower of Pisa.